Yo, what is up, guys? It's the Nightwing at Way of Life Esports coming at you guys with another League of Legends video here today. This is the C9FanCast Season 1, Episode 14? Yeah, we've actually had 14 of these. That's pretty cool. And we have a packed house tonight, actually. Khan, TSM fan, Shinryu made it. A new guy, Omniscient, got him from Hotline League. How are you guys doing? How's your guys' day going?
Day's going. I mean, it was a Tuesday. This month has been good at my work.
Okay.
You know, if we're gonna ignore what's happening at Worlds, you know, it's going really good. I mean, we'll probably get into more later on, but I think there's a pretty horrible approach going on in a lot of people's mind right now, and I can't wait to talk about that later on.
Yeah, I'll definitely highlight the not watching Worlds today. It was actually it was almost relieving not waking up to watch the games today. So I was like,
it actually sucked, dude. It actually sucked because every single time I'm literally awake, then there's no games. When I'm going to sleep, I can only watch the first game before I gotta go to bed for work, or otherwise I'd be dead. Like, cause I stayed up to watch 2 games one night. I slept on the ground in my job in the back, and no one saw me. I was like, oh my god, I cannot do that again. So
no, I woke up and I went on my computer and was like, oh, what happened? Because I woke up late. I woke up at like 10, and so I was like, oh, what were the games? I saw that there was no games. I was so disappointed.
Dude,
I was like, oh,
right?
I missed the game. But I'm happy that they're on tomorrow. So I'm super excited for the game, for Group A and the games to be played tomorrow.
All right.
It's been great out. It's been great out here in Romania because the game started 11 a.m. 11 a.m. 12 p.m. They start at like noon for me. So,
wow.
Other than me being on nights now, so I won't get to watch the upcoming days. But
oh man, dude, that sucks, man. Freaking hell. Ugh. But the World's 2020 group stage main event kicked off this past week. We had, games going from day 1 through 4. That's where we're on right now, because after this episode goes up, you guys will be watching groups days 5 through 8, where it's just the single group play to decide who makes it into the top 8. Man, before we get into those predictions, what were you guys' big surprises and biggest letdowns from the group stage so far?
Biggest letdown by far, TSM.
Man, you took the words out of my mouth.
Yeah, TSM.
Oh no, we have TSM fans here. They might go crazy on us. I'm just kidding.
No, it's I mean, like, there's obvious amounts of like letdown to like pre-tournament expectations for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't necessarily think that if anyone was thinking that TSM was just going to come out and be world beaters against these teams, they would have been very much wrong. I did have them coming out second because I felt like what we saw from LGD in play-ins was like really disheartening against what you would consider lower competition. And that Fnatic, I wasn't necessarily sure which form we would get when we get the 3-0 against G2, or when we get what we saw against G2 in the finals.
Mm-hmm.
So those are two. So it was a little bit inconsistent, maybe just a little bit of a hopeful bias coming out for them. But yeah, it's been really disheartening.
The reason why TSM is not my biggest disappointment is because last week when I was on the same podcast, I said their success has only really been through TF and a little bit of Zillion. And what have we seen all 3 games with TSM? They've all had all 3 TF bans, and it's broken down their type of play. My actually biggest disappointment is the fans and how they are treating and acting on NA, and this big BS idea that we're somehow this major region that should be competing and being the best region in the world. When you look at things like our player base is so much smaller, our talent pool is so much smaller. People are out here saying Doublelift and Bjerg need to retire because they're suppressing talent. Like, as much as people want to say that, Doublelift has won 8 of the last 11 LCS splits. I'm sorry. When you win that much, saying that you're suppressing talent is a little bit BS in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you want, rookies have tried to come up, and they end up getting shuffling around, and then people start calling them lazy NA talent. We'll go a whole lot into what NA's problems are, but there's this fan perception that when it comes to the World, it's 1, the only tournament that matters, and 2, that the LCS should be able to compete like every other region, and I'm sorry, but it's just never going to happen consistently in a strong way. Our teams are not going to be as good as other regions because our talent pool to bring from is so shrunken. You wouldn't expect MLS teams to be able to go to win the UEFA Cup every year against likes of Real Madrid or PSG or Liverpool. Why would you expect the LCS to be able to do that for League of Legends? It's almost identical situations.
To go off your point, I don't understand. Like, if we already know they're bad, then what are we expecting new from them? You know, like it's like if you have a girlfriend and she literally just doesn't do something that you want at all. It's like, why would I just randomly expect her to start doing it? You know, if you already predict teams to be bad, why is it surprising they're bad? I just don't understand that. Like, you already said they're going to be bad. You were right. They're playing bad. You expected this. Like, everyone already knew we were not that good going into the event. I don't see why this is such a big new thing all of a sudden. That's just me.
I think there's this cultural mentality about like overcoming adversity that it can just be done through like sheer hard work and grit.
Power of friendship. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, but like there has to be like things in place in terms of like quality that you have that allow that to happen, and we don't necessarily have that here. Also, it's not my biggest disappointment, TSM. My biggest disappointment is Fionn on Fire just literally tweeting out every day that what if we could win, or what if this, or what if that, and it's like it's the most cringeworthy thing that I read consistently because it's like it does nothing but just further this idea that if we just believe hard enough, our teams can overcome the adversity that is set through like the lack of infrastructure that we have.
That sounds like such an anime. Just believe hard enough.
I think that like I think it is true that like yeah, like we have a lower player base in this at the other. I think a lot of people come at the angle of like, okay, then how are we importing like the possible like one of Europe's best junglers like a couple years or like last year, like how are we importing these world champions and this, that, the other, and we're still messing up. I do think it is true to an extent though that like our player base is bad and this, that, the other, and like we don't have like the infrastructure and this, that, the other, but like we are importing some of the like some pretty good players, and like we have the possibility, like we could entice players more if we like built our lower player or like our actual NA players up. That way we could get even better imports and like play around like that way because we have so much money, you know, like it. I think there is a little bit of like leeway you have to put there where it's like I think we do have like we could shell out and we could do so much better with the money we spend, you know. It's like you look at Korea and they have like 8 different like teams on SKT that all do like different things, and all like these small level teams that just work in-house and like constantly, you know, where we spend like $2 million on Huni, you know, like why can't we just like import like 18 Chinese kids that all like play like Fiora 13 hours a day, you know, like I definitely think there's a world where it's like, okay, well, there is a little bit of like, okay, NA orgs are a little bit to blame on this, but I do agree that like there are a lot of those points of like infrastructure and this, at the other.
I also told people that like in North America, because in other countries, from what I've noticed, what some people have told me from my other YouTube channel where there's a lot of other different nationalities, gaming is a lot more accepted in those countries. Like in America,
Yes.
it's really not though. Like when I tell people I play on PC, they're like, where's your console? I'm like, yeah, I have consoles, but I play on PC. They're like PC gaming is not like the norm. It's just not. And gaming also isn't really accepted as a lot of people make it out to be. It's accepted amongst the general public now, but it's not like this big, oh yeah, your kid can just go become a gamer whenever they feel like it, you know, type thing.
I would a little bit disagree. I think gaming in North America has been pretty heavily accepted. I think but the nail you hit on the head is console versus PC.
Yeah.
Not many parents nowadays are even going to buy themselves PCs, let alone their kids' PCs. Every type of thing you can do is on a tablet, a cell phone, stuff like that. If you're asking a parent what they're going to get their kid, is it going to be the $500 Xbox or is it going to be the $1,000 to $2,000 PC?
And to add on to that, there's like the idea of like having like PC bongs in Korea, or like different types of whatchamacallit, like big open areas with PCs and this, that, the other that you can rent time and this, that, the other. That's like
The
a big
culture
thing.
is incredibly different. Yes.
Yeah, it's so much different. Like, yeah, like I went to Europe a while ago, and it's like you look up on a map, like, hey, look up areas to get to go to places like that. It's like the map lights up. You know, you can find places all over the place, and I bet Korea is the same way, and China is the same way. Where it's like you go to the U.S., you go to like Chicago, there's like 3 in the radius of like a city of like what 3 million people. You know, it's like whoa. It's like you're never gonna find that sort of thing because consoles are so like acceptable compared to like.
It's very similar to what I would like a sports analogy. I know people hate sports analogy when it comes to video games, but I think this one's ample. It's very similar to how in America things like basketball is the easy sport of choice for everybody in our, a lot of people in our country, whereas in, other countries across the world, a lot of times it's soccer. So it's no surprise when it comes to the Olympics, the World Championships, anything that happens with basketball, America dominates at an extreme rate because that is what most of our youth is playing, at a young age and out in the open. Whereas soccer, we don't have that big farming infrastructure of talent, and when we go against those same countries, we're the ones getting our butts kicked. Well, where they're succeeding.
I think like another thing, like, and I personally like sports analogies because I consider, especially within league, because I consider league an esport, and I think that like through across like whether it's an esport, regular sport, like I think most sports have things in common, and so like one of the things like in Korea, in China, they have like on TV they broadcast these video games. And so in America, and so like thousands of people watch it. In America, no one, like if like barely anyone watches it. Like most people are going to watch it on Twitch and things like that. Whereas if like you look at like the NFL or the NBA or like the NHL, there's multiple people watching that. And so when it,
keep going, my bad, yeah.
And so like because of that, like you see kids who grow up and they're like, oh, I want to do that, when they have to find league rather than league being brought to them.
Yeah, I would definitely argue that in America, video games are definitely not more generally accepted. Like people are like, oh yeah, you can game, but like in places like Korea and stuff like that, if you said I wanted to do gaming as a career, it would be like, okay, yeah, like I know growing up, like if I told my dad like, hey, I want to be a professional gamer, he'd have fucking laughed at me.
My mom too. She's like, "What the hell? What? Shit."
Like I played sports all my life too, so like I told my dad one day I was playing fucking 2K, and I was like, "Yo, I got drafted to the Timberwolves," and he was like, "When you get drafted in real life, come talk to me." I was like, "Yeah, that's fucked up."
That's what I told people, man. Like the whole PC gaming thing, it's not as big as like console gaming, and that also goes into the other argument. Oh, console gaming is a lot more, what's that word? Convenient. It's more convenient to play a console game. It's a lot more easier to load up your console, play a game, than it is to get computer parts, get a keyboard, get a monitor, get a webcam if you're going to be streaming. Like, there's much more into it. But, I mean, obviously they have their pros and cons, but it's just that a lot of people are bringing up these NA issues that are just things you already know. Like, what was this country since Skaren and Jensen come from? Denmark, right?
Denmark.
They have, like, the gaming is so accepted over there. You can, your college is paid for. Like, the cultural, there's just so many cultural differences, though. Like, the way we look at things compared to how the other countries look at it.
I didn't, like, I didn't play a single video game until I was in middle school.
Holy
shit. That's insane.
Wow.
You boomer. I've been playing games since I was, little boy.
I mean,
I didn't think about that.
I know for me growing up, like I only got console games, and one of the reasons why is because my parents always felt like teenage kids on a PC, bad idea. They always felt you can get into less trouble giving them just a console, and that's their stuff. I mean, nowadays it's not too different, but like, I think actively like PCs aren't as commonly bought in the US. Like go to Best Buy. How many actual PCs do you see there? They're almost all some form of tablet.
I agree, dude. Like, or parents will buy those all-in-one PCs. Because I had a parent ask me, because I got this vlog coming up on my other channel. This lady asked me, because I should have recorded this. She was like, "Hey, do you know about computers?" I'm like, "Yeah, I got my own PC." She's like, "Well, what's really, really good?" I was like, "Well, ma'am, what do you want?" Well, she's like, "Something just super easy and convenient." I'm like, An all-in-one PC.
That don't exist.
Yeah, like I was gonna like an all-in-one PC. I was like, you gotta tell me what you want. You want a fast computer? You want something to get the job done? You get a laptop that'll do it too. But she was like, oh, I just want it for my kid's school. I was like, okay, then get a Chromebook or a laptop. I pointed out some good ones, and that's pretty much it. But like when you're telling parents they gotta buy like $1,000 PCs, it's like it's generally not in people's budgets. You know, unless you save for it. You know. But looking at Worlds so far, let's start with Group A. That's G2's group. So, Team Liquid took down G2. Con predicted it was the G2 throw game. Why? Why did they have to throw random games like this? It breaks my heart, man. Just throwing random stupid games like this. Like, this could be the game where, like, this could have make or breaks them from getting out of the group. Like, if they lose to TL coming up later on tonight, they could be out.
It's not just makes or breaks them getting out of the group. It's makes or breaks them getting the first seed.
That's it.
You know, because there's still a chance to get out of the group. But now if they lose to Suning and they win their other two games and Suning goes 3-0, G2 doesn't get the first seed. They don't even get a chance to play for a tiebreaker. They automatically get put in the second seed because they have two losses to Suning's one.
Yeah, but then they... So, like, if TL was to win out, though, that's the opportunity. Like, so, like, if TL beats G2 and beats Machi...
I'm talking realistic possibilities here, so...
If you would have told me beforehand that Machi was going to beat Team Liquid, and you actually actively thought that before, which I pretty much think that no one here... you raise your hand, but I think you just do it as an NA hater.
No, you can look in the chat here. My actual pick'ems, I have Machi number 2 in this group above G2.
He was really going for them.
Okay, so wait, so your realistic expectations that Suning wasn't going to be good, but now where we're at now...
No. Suning I had number 1. Suning I had number 1. I had Machi 2, G2 3.
Okay,
wow.
So...
I had G2 second. Yeah, I had
G2 second.
So the reason why I thought Machi was going to be good, because I was very impressed with the way PSG played with subs and play-ins, and I felt that for Machi to win that region and PSG to look that decent in play-ins, it meant that Machi was going to be a competent team going into groups. And when I look at teams like TL, who play kind of slow, and I think TL's easily abusable. I think you just ban Graves, and then Proxy can't play the game. They're very similar to TSM, where if you just ban TF, they can't play the game. You just ban Graves from TL, and they're a wild puddle of goo. And I think... Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I agree. I'm not saying that, like, TL's a world beater or anything. But, I mean, like, Suning, that game versus G2 could easily be 1-2 right now, as opposed to 2-1.
They should have been 1-2.
I 100% agree. I mean, if that's a mountain soul instead of an ocean soul, Perks isn't doing like 5,000 damage a second in that one team fight.
Or how about if they don't just try and push the base stupidly after they won a 5v0 fight when they had Elder Buff and Baron?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so
I think
those are things that like we can like look at, but it's back to C9's Master's ploy is basically just that this is a really interesting time in terms of like worlds right now. Like I didn't think Group A was going to be this exciting. Group B, I'm only disappointed in Damwon for not going perfect. I mean, not Damwon, JDG for going perfect, and then I think we've seen a little bit more from like the likes of like Rogue and FlyQuest than I thought we would see, but that's everything else is kind of just going to stock. Standard.
I think it's fair to say, especially with these like all-in-one days, with like teams playing 3 games in a day, you have to understand that like some of these days could be like any given Sunday type days, where like the one team, like for some reason, plays really well on this day. Do we know why? We have no idea why, but they had a good day, you know, like yeah. And this team, they played like shit. We're not gonna talk about it, but they just played bad, and that can happen. That can happen where like TL somehow goes 3-0. Like you remember Fnatic last year, where they beat like everyone for some reason. And yeah, Cloud9 the previous year. That could be TL this year. And I'm not saying it is. To be honest, I don't think it will be.
He wants it.
But you have to like factor that in as like that 10%. I don't think it's a 30. I don't think it's a 50%, but I think it's a 10%. Where it's like, okay, there's a 10% chance on the like any given Sunday factor where they can make it out of this group. Possibly, well, I think it's like they would need tiebreaker to get first seed, but like there's the theoretical thing, you know.
I think
Well, if
it'll
they go
be,
2-1, they get out, right?
yeah, because
Well-
I think it'll be TL versus G2 for fighting for second. I really
Yeah.
think Sunni's
Yep.
Sunni is too strong. Because like I also think that Machi showed all their cards. I don't know. It just feels like their esteem has been getting a little bit lower for me. They played really well against Team Liquid. They played okay against G2, but I like the game against Sunni kind of has me a little bit more lower on them so far. I mean, they
I
could
will
also
say-
surprise too. They can also surprise too.
The
I think-
Machi game, was that the first game that both of the teams played?
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, TL had play-in, so
That's true.
Hmm.
I will say this. I think I've already heard what the script is going to be because it's very typical NA. So if you're ready, they're going to be G2 and obviously lose to Suning. And then G2 will lose to Suning as well. And then all Team Liquid is going to need to do is beat the wild card region in Machi, and they'll lose. And then all NA hope will go out the window for going 2-1 on the day, or even forcing a tiebreaker. And then we'll all cry. And it'll be great. Khan may be really happy because he has Machi going second or something, and somehow it works. But
Dude, he's gonna get to
think
pick him, big brain.
I think that Group A has officially become so like everyone was talking about Group A being like the group of life and stuff like that, and how like Group C was the closest out of like the hardest to decide. I think Group A has become the hardest to decide who's coming out of it, because like while a lot of people say that Suning's number one, like if Machi, let's just say Machi can show up, and then TL can show up, and then G2 can show up. But like G2 also is very coin flippy in how they play. So like I think that like realistically G2, like if I'm gonna say G2's gonna come in second, like that's what it should happen. But theoretically anything can happen.
I
Well,
still think Group C
they're also-
would be harder. Just
Well, they're also the only Group A is the only group where there's not a team with 0-3 or 3-0. They're all either 1-2 or 2-1. While like Group B, you got Damwon, TSM who's 0-3, and then you have Top who's 3-0. So like while Group A, it's completely competitive, in one way or the other, bad way or good. So yeah, I agree. Where it's like Group A somehow became like the group of inconsistency. It feels like.
I mean, earlier this week, a lot of people were thinking that Group B was the weakest group by far. I don't think that's great. Don't get me. I mean, not Group B. Group C is the weakest group by far. I think after watching all 4 days, I actually think Group A is the one. I mean, I think Suning is definitely, I think, the best in this group. But when I look at the other 3 teams, and I'm including G2 in this, I'm not exactly impressed with whoever's going to be this potential 2 seed coming out. And I mean, anything can happen. The reason why, yeah, like you're right. This is the one that's the hardest to tell, mainly because you have 2-1, 2-1, 1-2, 1-2, and G2, could have been 3-0 against Team Liquid. Look, you just had one of their classic end games, and they have a history of like going 3-3 in group stages and barely scraping by. So it's probably not going to just be this one end game. They're probably going to int another game at some point tonight.
As long as they don't enter tiebreaker, then I'm cool. If you enter tiebreaker, my brain's gonna actually break.
They'll probably win a tiebreaker because that's like for some reason that like G2 when it actually matters they can win, but when it doesn't, they literally sometimes just don't. You know, they'll lose to Mad Esports in a best of 5. They'll lose to Fnatic in before they can go in the winners bracket final. They'll lose to Vietnam and Chinese teams whenever it's in play. I mean, they usually lose to Chinese teams. They lose to Vietnam teams all the time. I mean, I'm not too confident in Machi getting out, only because I thought they would have been able to surprise G2 this first round, but they weren't able to. I see it going to be Suning and G2. And this first game is really the one I think is most important. If G2 beats TL, I think you can chalk up the group, and I think it's going to be pretty, Suning. Suning and G2 focus. If they drop a game to TL again, then like get your energy drinks out. You're gonna have to watch the whole night.
yeah, that was my point earlier. Like it's just like
if TL beats G2, that makes the group a lot more interesting. That means G2 has to win out their other 2 games in order for a chance to get out. That'd be crazy.
If you're G2 though, you don't want to come out second.
Yeah.
Because that means you're facing. This isn't last year Damwon. This is Damwon on steroids.
Would that not be the greatest rematch?
And also top.
And then top. Like your dream is like if you come out second, you pray that like somehow fucking Fnatic takes
Or
first.
Gen G, yeah.
I don't think you want Gen G either.
No, you know what?
I
Gen
agree.
G,
I
Gen G's
agree.
really
You
strong.
do not want Gen G.
To comment on G2 though, I think like, and like disagree or not, like yeah, I think they win when it matters, but the only reason I think that they won't, there's a higher possibility than we think that them not making it out is because their drafts have looked really weird, and also the way they've played through jungle has been really, really weird. Playing for side waves for jungle and timing waves and this, that, the other, they've looked extremely weird, and their decision making kind of looks like just not on point compared to the other teams that are mastering like playing through jungle better. I don't think Liquid's much better than it too. So I think there's a world where G2 does like definitely make second in the group, but like I don't see them getting past quarters, semis, first round of playoffs. I definitely think that like it's true that this is a weak group.
Now here's the question. Go ahead.
You got it real quick.
Here's my question: if G2 doesn't get out of this group, do European fans go on Reddit and Twitter and say, "We need to blow up our region. These results aren't good enough.
Yes.
We can't. We expect more. All these G2 players, they should just retire." Because I mean,
Okay, no, you can't make the same correlation that what you're saying that would happen if it happened in NA, because there is known quantities and an infrastructure built in EU through EU Masters, and these are teams that have been to the finals, even though they get 3-0'd.
I'm just making the joke that like that's how.
Yeah, I think he was just being more funny than anything else.
That'd be so
I think
funny.
it would happen though, because look what
I
happened
think
to Matt.
European fans are like that.
Dude,
I can easily see it happening with European
I
fans.
I think European fans will go out there and they'll be upset, like what happened with this G2. It's the same team that was in the finals last year. How did they get worse against seemingly worse competition in their group?
They're literally going to come out. Go ahead.
I think it's more likely that European fans will say that like G2 just had like a bad day, or like
they were trolling. They were trolling.
Yeah, they were trolling. Something like that. Like,
can they use that excuse at World?
No, fans will. That's what fans will do. Fans will.
I think if anything, fans are just gonna sandbag Yankos.
He's been playing bad.
They're gonna be like, pretty bad. It's a jungle meta, guys. It's a jungle meta. It's a jungle meta. Like, what the fuck, Yankos? You were playing bad the entire split. What the hell, Yankos? Like, come on, man.
If G2 doesn't get out of this group, fans are gonna say we need to blow G2 up. They tried stupid. They openly said that they didn't want to try this year so they can prepare for Worlds, and look what happened.
Oh,
we need to blow.
Oh God!
That is an absolute quote.
That is a quote. That is and remember, Perk said they're stronger this year than they were last year. I'm like, what kind of crack have you smoked? What? Yeah. I need to get the crack you smoked because you were way stronger last year. They were way stronger last year.
Perks was like a top 3 ADC last year.
I was like, you're not stronger.
It was also a Perks meta because being a maid for caster type like ability-based ADCs being relevant is probably better for him than these utility-focused bot laners like Senna, Ashe, and Jhin. I'm not saying he's not good on them. I'm just saying he's definitely not as good as he is on the Zayas and the Kaisas of the world.
He seems more like a
it's hard for you to like have
ADC. That's what he seems like to me. It's all the meta.
Yeah, well, it's hard to have like super carry impact with like Ashe and fucking Jhin compared to like Kaisa and Xayah, who had like Kaisa had engaged potential with the fucking ult and shit like that, and like Xayah with all the fucking like damage that she had in her ult cooldown. It was crazy.
I also think like I'm not sure if like they would say anything like this, but like with Wonder doing like all of the WoW stuff, like the raids and the dungeons, like whatever it's called, like how he does like how like. Wasn't there like a meme about him doing other things than League?
Yeah, playing WoW.
He does not play solo queue. Like he doesn't play League, like unless it's like during the season. Like he doesn't.
I love these guys. This is so bad, but yet so funny at the same time when it works out for them. I just love shit like that.
See, I like G2 just because of the memes. Like they've grown on me as just funny as hell. Like other than that, like I don't think they're that good this year.
Carlos said on
But
Twitter,
they're funny as shit.
I don't give a fuck if we lose to tomorrow. When he was talking about, if they lost to TL, we'll still make it out of the group, and like NA needs to fix, stop importing. I'm like, dude, you care if G2 lose? Stop bullshitting. You can't bullshit me. Like, it's not gonna work. He obviously cares if G2 loses. Why are people making memes about you losing? You definitely care. I just don't like when fans say, oh yeah, you're trolling, because if G2 had beaten Team Liquid, because if G2 had beaten Team Liquid, the story is, well, yeah, G2's better, they just smashed them, world-class team, blah, blah, blah. It's like, dude, you gotta be consistent. I get you can't be consistent all the time based off, like, how certain things go, but you know what I mean? Like, if G2 wins, they're the best team. If they lose, they're trolling. That means...
I'll say this. If you're asking for fans to be rational, you are in the wrong business.
That's literally out of the definition. The definition of fan is like fanatical, like
fanatic
crazy.
fans are the worst. Just to let you know, because they're double
TSM
fanatics.
fans are the worst. Dude, actually,
No.
TSM
fans
No,
are.
you might be right.
They're
Fnatic
fanatic
are
fans of
delusional.
North America.
Dude,
But
Fnatic fans are delusional. They are in love with their players. It is.
I'm merely memeing because if you're a fan of Fnatic, you're a double fanatic. So therefore, you would be
that's the word.
extremely irrational.
Are we
But,
TSM fans? Are we talking about everybody who chants TSM before any game whatsoever, or are we talking about like the
Those aren't TSM fans. Those are trolls.
Are you on TSM?
Yeah, the
Reddit?
Redditors, the ones that get on there and hate post and shit post on like Broken Blade after one bad game.
Yeah.
Oh my god. But
those are the people that are bad.
That pretty much sums up Group A so far. Unless you guys want to say anything more about Group A.
So I was just gonna say something about the trolling thing. The only time I'll say that I'll accept they were trolling is if they did what they did last summer, where they argued, Wonder and Caps argued who was gonna play Kha'Zix in lane. Like they did a fucking rock paper scissors. Like if they did that, I'd be like, okay, yeah, like that's trolling, like sure. But they got clapped, like.
But is that
really
okay?
Wasn't. I mean,
like, is that okay? Like, even if they're actually trolling, isn't that a more endemic issue of something else? Like, even if that's like the reason, like, oh, why are they doing this? They're trolling. That's not a good enough answer for why you're doing this, like on the world stage, if it was to happen.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. I'm not saying that it makes it okay. I'm just saying like for people saying like, oh, they were just trolling. Like no, like they got fucking clapped. Like.
They're definitely not trolling. Like it's, I think Yanko said in the interview.
There's a world's game. Like you're not trolling. It's the world's game here, man. Oh my god.
I think Yanko said in the interview on Euphoria today. I don't know if anybody else watched Euphoria, but he was talking about how like they were definitely not trolling. He even like shit talking A little bit. He was like, I definitely think Team Liquid are bad. Like we definitely should have beat them, and we're not trolling. Like we're trying. Mm-hmm. They at this point that the fans can't use that as an excuse because it's on record already that like they've said that sort of thing.
The other thing that I'll say this like last about like fans and stuff, like the major difference I see between NA fans and EU fans is NA fans will like whenever their team does bad, they'll like flame like to oblivion whatever team. So like for example TSM, like everyone's saying like, oh, TSM sucks, like blah blah, like they just keep like going after them, whereas EU fans, like if an EU team loses, they like are like, oh, they got unlucky or they were trolling, or like it's never like they try to sideline it.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see what happened to Mad?
Well,
yeah,
I was gonna say
lit the fuck up, bro.
Well, I think it's usually like when there's an excuse or when there's like no excuse for it, they just go and look towards the trolling angle or the like a different angle. I feel like Mad had excuses for once, and so they flamed them because they had excuses.
Like Carsey,
I got
Carsey
it.
straight up said, "I'm getting off Twitter."
The sports analogy you guys like. So you know how like in sports, your favorite basketball team, like say a team loses, oh yeah, the refs were biased against my team. Yeah. It's like it's the same thing. It's like, dude.
Yeah.
Like sometimes what happened? Go ahead.
We should just wrap that up as there are going to be extreme sides to each one. Mm-hmm. That on any fan base, because some people do not deal with loss very well when they're so heavily invested, so they'll find scapegoats throughout anything. And then there are semi-rational people most of us in here, I'm pretty sure.
I'm not rational.
I'm not sure about Khan though. No, I'm kidding. I like memeing on Khan because I've known him for a long time. But then there's people who are just like, oh, don't worry, guys. If you just try your hardest next time, it's like you're just hopeful. You're not rational, but you're not extremely like you're not sending death threats. Thankfully, so.
All right.
Yeah.
And with that, we're gonna move on to Group B. This is the easiest group. This group is literally you get shit on or you do the shitting on. That's all it is. These games are all blowouts. None of these games are. Damwon to me, I had them as the best team in the world coming in over Top Esports. I had Damwon first, top second, third JDG. This group is everything I predicted. You get shit on and you do the shitting on. That's it. This group is not interesting.
I found
There's a pecking order.
You didn't have to move Group B at all. It literally gave you the when you go into the pick'ems, it literally showed you the order that it was gonna be.
I did not move it. I literally did not touch it.
I left it as is. If Damwon don't go 6-0, that is a disappointment. These teams stink.
Yeah.
No one's not
JDG.
I thought JDG would go 6-0 and Damwon 5-1 or 4-2. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
So
I Damwon coming out on top.
I've been on the Damwon train since Showmaker and Nuguri got together, so I was even in the fucking C9 group last year talking about like Damwon's gonna beat G2 and they got fucking destroyed.
Oh, that was a funny day where that dude was like Sneaky could have beaten what was his name? Freaking they had Nuclear and like, yeah, if you paired Sneaky and Mickey X together, they would have taken out Damwon. It's like, no, dude, just take that sneaky cock out of your mouth, please. Good
Yo,
God.
there were some people that were like hard on it, and I was just like, well, yeah, the Damwon got shit on. And it was really a bot diff. Like Nuclear was not that great to say the least, and Barrel wasn't as good as he is this year either. But yeah,
there's a reason why they have Ghost now. Yeah.
Yeah, Ghost is pretty
I
good.
will say with Damwon, I'm really worried for Ghost. I think he's done really well this group stage so far. But like he's like the most right now at least he's like really good with this meta because it's weak side bot, and he's been like the really good at weak side bot. So like I think there's a world where like the games get a little closer with Damwon because people start like trying to fight Ghost a little bit more. At least I just hope so because like I want to see more like I think it was like when the Draven picks with Twitch. It's like I want to see somebody pull that out against like Ghost because I think it's possible for him to not be able to absorb that much pressure. But that's just me.
I see Damwon going 5-1, 6-0, JDG 4-2. I think these are the best teams in the group. Like I don't even really see JD. Like there was the game against like Damwon versus Rogue where like Rogue could fight them and actually fight them sufficiently with their comp. They're like, no, we can't fight. No, we're too scared. All right, then. You've showed me everything I need to see. You just don't want to fight then. All right, cool. Just let Damwon run over you. Like, what is that? Like, it's terrible. Hecarim Taric? Like, Hecarim Taric? You don't want to fight at all? Okay, you're trash. Get off the stage. All right, let's go to Group C, a more interesting group, with TSM, who is 0-3. Oh Lord! Where do you start with this group? Fnatic, they beat Gen G. Okay. Gen G, they're playing pretty well. LGD is still kind of inconsistent, and TSM. Here's the thing: TSM to me aren't playing bad in terms of like they're like down 50 CS. They're getting destroyed. It's all hopeless. You know, they are doing some things okay, but I just think at the end of the day, their opposition are just way better than they are. Like, it could just come down to that. I want to know you guys' opinions on that.
For me, at least with TSM, I don't think it's a matter of them being better. While I do think that the other three teams are better than TSM, I think what comes down to is like small macro plays and like one thing that leads into this massive thing. So like if you look at like the TSM game versus Fnatic, for example, that was a really, really, really close game up until that Fnatic Baron. And then after that, it just spiraled down. But up until there, like you didn't know who was gonna win, and there was a really good chance for TSM winning. And so I think it's like been like these one play things that just spiral out of control, and then TSM loses.
Well, that level 1 sure as hell didn't help. I'll tell you that.
It also doesn't help.
Sure.
They know Selfmade's best jungle pick in this meta is Evelyn. They know he was good at Evelyn in Europe and didn't take it away from him. But as Con said, Con said in my other show, TSM did get all their priority picks, so like it does kind of mean that you can't have your cake and eat it too. But in the TSM games, not just the last one, the other games, it was like, okay, like they're moving around the map, they're trying stuff, but it's like it's not amounting to anything. Like nothing they're doing is getting them anywhere, and that's like super frustrating. And Bjergsen's kind of been underperforming. Doublelift has been, I don't even know. Biofrost has been, like.
The one thing I'll say is that I really hate this idea that like everyone in the community is like, oh, Doublelift learned how to play Senna, and then you're like, did he really? Because I watched Jackie Love play Senna, and that's how you play Senna. You don't have 20. You don't have 20 souls on Senna at 18 minutes.
Oh
okay?
God, when I saw that, oh my God.
These are things that like should not be allowed. If you say the champion, like you're not utilizing the best. If you have nothing to do, you're not following around your jungle to take his souls off the camps and stuff like that. Like there are so many micro things that aren't happening for TSM that I was just like, okay, why? And also it's a Doublelift thing to where he will hard focus on one champion to play for like the span of like infinity, and it was like that when he was on TSM before. It was like that when he was on Team Liquid. And this actually might be the first year in a very long time where Doublelift's team does not go 3-3 and barely not make it out. Because since he was on CLG, every team he's been on has gone 3-3. That CLG team that lost to Albus Noxaluna went 2-4.
Oh, Pain
and
Gaming.
The BRTT. Yeah, sorry. But this will be the first, like the worst showing possibly that a Doublelift led team or team with Doublelift on it has had for Worlds, and I just think that while they've tried to play through top lane, it's been really disheartening to see that outside of having TF when they do, and even the one game that they had the Zillion, which was not a great game altogether in terms of like their drafts like lack damage or like lack a cohesive identity from what I've seen, even though they may be like even in gold. You like try to conjecture how the rest of the game is going to be played out, and you're like, okay, well, how do they win this with this comp versus X? Minus the Fnatic game, I've like looked at it and I've been like, this is gonna be really hard to watch, but I have to because I'm like a masochist or something. But
I mean, with TSMs, as much as we want to hate on Doublelift, and I know Sean, OP TSM fan loves hating on Doublelift, he gets like a hate boner for it.
I don't have a hate boner for it. I'm looking at
Bjerg is the problem for TSM right now. First of all, did anybody watch that game with his LeBlanc?
Oh my God, he missed everything.
This man flashed top lane, missed every ability on a 1 HP Renekton and died.
Right?
The next fight, he TP's behind them. The Biofrost gets Kramer's flash. Kramer is sitting on the Scuttlecrab vision, so TSM has visions of him. Bjerg is coming from behind, easy flank on their team. Everybody on TSM's in the river, and Bjerg decides to go on the Renekton, who is ulted by himself. He literally loses the 1v1 so bad that in the middle of the fight, Broken Blade has to stop and ult and kill himself to give Bjergsen a shield. And that wouldn't have been enough because Doublelift then had to shift in and kill off Renekton, or else Bjerg would have died. We're not done with Bjerg this game. We're not done with Bjerg this game. Later on, he has a good play. He gets a pick on Peanut. They start a Baron. He gets a flank. No flash on the mid laner, Orianna. No Banshees on the mid laner. No flash on the AD carry. They're in vision on their pink ward near the Baron. He goes in, throws a chain that was like a perfect field goal, and then goes back, and the only chance TSM had to get back in that game and win with a team fight like that, he completely threw away.
Yes. Second, so while we can look at individual moments in games and throw it on there, also, interestingly enough, Khan has had a hate boner for Bjergsen for about 2 years, saying they need to let go of him on multiple occasions. So if we're going to talk about
I said Bjerg should leave TSM because he's better than the org.
My point is, you have always had a hate boner for Bjergsen in terms of, hey, he's not as good as you think, and also he needs to leave TSM because he's the problem on TSM. These are your things that you
I
have
said he would be better in a different org in a different place.
Come to
But let's also go to the Syndra game where he had a farm advantage and a farm lead and literally could do nothing that game at all. He wasn't landing any combos. He wasn't actually ulting anybody down. He was completely invisible in that series. If
you want to, like, I'm not individually blaming Doublelift for the way they played. He's been on utility, right? All I'm saying is that he has like this idea of like playing certain champions that he feels are good, and sometimes that's been to his benefit when it's been like Lucian and stuff like that, and sometimes it's been to his detriment because the world's meta has changed from his own individual perception. That's not a Doublelift-based thing, but that's just something I noticed with Doublelift.
It's interesting though. His champion pools always center around what AD carries are best at Worlds.
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily say that because so
last year he was defaulting on Kai'Sa and Xayah. What were the best AD carries at Worlds last year?
Well,
wait, hold on. I gotta go look that up. But
you could say that about any meta. He's picking the most meta champs. Senna is one of the most meta champs right now. But I will say, like, watching Doublelift play, I think there's a lot of like macro or like little micro decisions that every player on TSM has like made issues with. I think if there's any player, if I'm being like completely honest, that has like tried to shift tides, it's honestly like I think Broken Blades look a little bit better than a lot of the players, and I think Doublelift hasn't looked terrible. I think his flash in on, I think it was Jin G in that one game where he got the flash W. I think like there are a couple moments where Doublelift like looked like he just carried. Even if it was on a shitty Senna game where he's like not farming souls correctly, like that's a micro decision. I think his overall intentions and the way he's playing the game is better than a lot of other players. I don't think he's like perfect, and I definitely think he's like doing the thing where he's honing in on a champion and it's really fucking him up. But I definitely think like he's not the one to blame. And I don't think any one player on TSM is to blame because a lot of their issues have been with macro and the micro issues because they're just not good enough players as the entire team of LGD, Gen G, Fnatic. Period. You're never going to get a game where all 5 of those players are as good as all 5 of the enemy team.
I was gonna say it's a team game, so like, you know, while Doublelift and Bjerg are world class players, you know, if your team is better than their team, which the others are.
All three of them were like, whoa.
Yeah.
The Bjerg and Doublelift are not world class players. If anything we've learned from those last 3 games is that Bjerg is not a world class player. You ban away his one global champ.
Oh, well, then he should retire then, man.
I don't think he should retire. I just think we should stop expecting NA talent to be world class.
No.
Okay.
You should become a coach. I think you should become a coach then. If you don't consider Berg world class, then like become a coach.
Okay, I will say
I don't want to extrapolate that far because it's like if you don't think someone's talented enough, you can make an analysis on a player and like understand that they're not performing to expectations of what you've seen other players do without being like, well, I can make someone a world-class player without, like, you, just because you can identify it doesn't necessarily know you know how to teach it. So
because we're only looking from the lens of, you know, what we're seeing right here. He could have did all these things in scrims. That I really doubt it. But, you know, for me and Bjergsen, I mean, I don't... The best players right now to me on TSM are Spica and Broken Blade. I think they've been the best parts about TSM. Like, I'm not surprised Bjergsen can't beat Shie or BDD. Like, I didn't expect him to be. I expected him to be better than Nemesis because Nemesis has not been playing the good in it of himself, right? So,
and he at least in lane was better than him in a disadvantageous matchup with Syndra Evolution. But those are small micro things that people would be like, well, that's okay. Then everything else doesn't matter. And it's like, no, there are bigger problems altogether. I think what the problem is for me is that they try to do this identity of playing through top lane, and to Khan's point, haven't found a way to replicate that success without Twisted Fate to where you can apply the pressure that like Bjergsen can have in lane through that, but they're not finding other ways to do that. I think that if we're looking at individual players, Biofrost so far has been like kind of lackluster to me in terms of like helping out Doublelift in lane and then also going with Spica, but you know, we don't have the full context of like what Spica's you know, because some of Spica's pathing was a little bit questionable sometimes as well. But
so I think Flare wants to. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
So
Flare, like
I've been wanting to say this ever since you guys talked about like Bjergsen should become a coach. It's like, here's the thing, and you see this with every NA team and even other region teams. Frost said it perfectly. Worlds is about adaptation. And what TSM has never done at a world championship is look to adapt. I think all of their players are world-class players if they learn to adapt, or they're put in a spot where they're learning very quick, very fast. Cloud9 has always been the team that makes it out, or makes it into like the playoffs of the Worlds. The reason is because they've picked up picks super fucking fast and super like quickly to try and like get as far as they can. I think like there's a lot of things that a lot of players on TSM that have been doing that they've either been sticking to way too hard, or that they just are just outright bad at. I think like Frost said it in Euphoria today, and I thought it was it was so cool. The way she put it was, you will play a matchup that you think is winning and that you've only experienced as winning. And then you play the Chinese version of that, and it's completely wrong.
Mhm.
It doesn't mean you're not a world-class player. It means you've never experienced that before. You can't ever have that.
Yeah, that goes back to the player base right now, because no one's punishing that in North America. I mean, like, someone. First off, did you know that there's ProView for Worlds? If you're in the China world, you can go buy it. But apparently, Bjergsen's probably never played the Zillion versus Set matchup, and like, he just was like, well, this really doesn't work. I never get cryo here, and like, wow, I'm supposed to be a neutralizing champion of Zillion. Dude, he just does it better. I
don't understand why they picked Zillion anyway. That Zillion shit only works here.
And they picked Zillion because they needed to get a win, and that he isn't good enough on anything else to potentially get a win. We saw this a long game.
That's the thing about one game is going to say he's not good enough on a champion anymore.
Yeah, I mean, like, we can go back to him playing the Akali a couple of years ago, where he was literally 1v9ing and stuff like that. Now, again, that's within North America, but we've seen moments of individual players having really good moments. But to extrapolate and say that because of one moment where they don't do something on a play, like, sure, that game was really bad for him. I'm not going to defend Bjergsen for that game, be like, don't worry, but like, it doesn't mean that they're either A, washed up, or not good enough in that moment, because what we'll do by doing that is exactly the same thing that some people in the beginning of the show were talking about. Like, you take that statement and then you say that person should retire, or that they're suppressing talent because they're washed up and stuff like that. It's like, that's not necessarily true.
I'm not saying that he needs to retire, he's washed up. I'm just saying he's not as a world-class top player. Everything through NA playoffs, everybody was saying Bjerg is this world-class god and he deserves to go on the world stage to show how good he is. Well, yeah, I'll bring it to you. He ain't that good on the world stage, and that's okay. Our region isn't going to be strong enough to put out these world-class top mid laners.
Everyone is looking through the lens of NA, so when it looks good within your small pond, when you go into an ocean, you realize you're not as big of a fish as you think you are.
I'm a big
and that's
fish.
fine.
I'm a shark.
and I think we're honing in on the what of like what it, like there's like, oh well, we're looking at like, okay, well they're obviously bad in here and good here. It's like, okay, well why? Why are they bad here? Why are they good here? Okay, well, obviously NA doesn't punish in this way. There might be this way that NA will never punish in lane that Bjergsen has found out how to do. But when he goes and plays against the Chinese players or the European players or this, that, the other, he has to learn how to like fight and play in a lane that is completely different. And I think the why is because these players aren't adapting well enough. We've seen NA players do okay, decent at the world stage. Not great, but you know what I mean. They do okay. I think Broken Blade has looked okay at this Worlds, and it's because they've learned how to adapt and learn trades and matchups better. And I don't think Bjergsen. I don't ever expect Doublelift or Bjergsen to make it out of groups because I don't see them as adaptable players that are ever going to change once they get to groups or once they get to Worlds or once they go to another country.
I mean, we've seen TSM one. They've shown their obviously adaptable and adaptable Worlds are different things, but they've played 3 games with almost 3 somewhat different comps. So they're trying to adapt and be different. Mm-hmm. It's just they're not succeeding at it. You know, when it comes to TSM, their only way of winning, in my personal opinion, is playing through Broken Blade. And I said this on your show, Mr. Swagmaster King, on Monday, that if TSM wants to win these games, and you know TF's gone, nobody's banning Galio. Camille Galio is a combo you can use and abuse with Broken Blade and Bjerg. They tried something similar with the Shen LeBlanc, but we saw that game that Bjerg is not good enough to be a solo carry himself for TSM. He just isn't, and that's okay. He's a great laner. He's great at farming. He's good at laning. He's a very great utility player.
I don't think anyone, maybe Nyx Knight, would be good, because like we've seen the DRX Chovy be 1v9 in LCK, and even that doesn't work here on the world stage. It's just, you're not able to, solo carry games.
At least not
all.
anymore, because he did it in 2016. He did it in 2017. So
Did they make it out of groups?
They didn't make it out of groups, no. However, in all of their wins, Bjerg, literally, his back was broken.
There was the one Sven game where he had to end and stuff like that. And but the game has changed so much that doesn't truly allow. I mean, like if Yone or Samira were available at Worlds, maybe we'd have a different story because it'd be the champion pick instead. But it'd probably just be 100%, pick ban. So.
And I'm not saying that like Broken Blade is the default; he can carry them. I'm just saying their win condition for that team is getting Broken Blade ahead and playing off sidelines. If they need to put Speaker on Shen and have Broken Blade be the Camille and something else on Bjerg, that's fine. But TSM to me seems like a very dependent team on a global champion to pressure sidelines. That's why they picked Shen against LGD. That's why they're so prevalent on having TF. They need to go to Galio. Whether it's on put it on Biofrost if you need to, but there needs to be some type of global presence for them because they're very, very good at abusing sidelines and turning out things that way. What they're not good at is individual 5v5 team fights around mid lane. And it showed in a lot of these games that when it came to team fights, their positioning was somewhat off, their targeting was horrible, and
God.
Yeah.
And overall, they just lose, and that's not something I'm surprised about. What I'm surprised is they haven't played through what I thought has been, adapted in a way to keep playing through what is successful, not just for them, but for a lot of these teams, which is abusing sideline pressure and winning, and winning through that way.
Anybody remember that 5v2 dive?
On this end?
I'm curious. So we have. I'm curious. So TSM is 0-3, which means that every other team like LGD, Fnatic, and Gen G, they're all 2-1. I'm curious. So for me, I have Gen G getting out. I think that the loss to Fnatic was somewhat of a fluke. It was kind of a one-loss type of scenario. I think that's going to be the only loss. I think they're going to go 3-0 tomorrow. But what do you guys think about the rest of the group? For groups, I
think because we're talking about TSM, right? I think Fnatic is also questionable in their own way. It's still the self-made show. Nemesis, he Bjergsen at least tries something and it fails. Nemesis has been kind of invisible to me. To me, Nemesis has been kind of even worse to me. That's just me.
Outside of his Lucian game.
Yeah, Reckless and Hillsing have not been bad. I think they've been okay. I think they've been rather okay. Blippo's been okay. They have a very.
I think Blippo's the best player on their team currently, at least identifying his role and what he needs to do for the team. He basically will just do anything for the team to win, and I think that is the biggest reason for Fnatic's success, honestly. Although, even though I hate it when he does his little dances all the time, because sometimes you just think it's smug, and then when he gets shit on, he doesn't do anything, and you're like, okay. But it's part of his swagger, which is fine.
Yeah.
But I think their top jungle is the most important thing to their success.
I think none of Gen G's issues will get pressed here because you can tell there's issues they have. You can already see them by how their synergies work. They have synergy, but it's all misplaced. Rascal's doing something, and then he'll involve his support when clearly Clid could do it, but he's focused on doing a dive mid lane. It's just things that they won't get punished for here in this group stage because I don't think the teams will punish it. But if they could lose another game, I'm not surprised. I still think they'll top the group. I think they'll get out 4-2. I think it's not surprising. TSM, maybe they have a Cloud9 2018. They go 3-0. They stomp these guys. Bjergsen puts them into the ground. Now, do any of you guys think that'll happen?
They can't make it out without a tiebreaker at this point, right? They have to play a tiebreaker to make it out, right?
If you look in general talking, even if they win 3-0, they're guaranteed tiebreakers, but it just depends on how many tiebreakers you get.
Whew, wow.
Now,
I think the probability. I think in terms of probability, there will probably be at least one tiebreaker in this group, coming out of it. Since there's so many scenarios that lead up to a tiebreaker.
I actually don't. I don't think there's going to be a tiebreaker, and the reason why is I think TSM is going to beat a team, and whatever team loses to TSM is out of this group. I also think a team's going to 3-0 this weekend, so I think you're going to see a 5-1 team and a 4-2 team, and then TSM will be 1-5, and one other team will be potentially like 3-3. They'll be like 2-4, but maybe 0-3 as well.
I agree with that.
I have Gen.G top and then LGD now. Now I do. Like before this, that's definitely not who I had. I think
Exactly.
Fnatic.
I
think
TSM
TSM will be
third.
Fnatic.
I had TSM third. I had Fnatic fourth. They
I
were like
TSM
interchangeable.
second.
You had TSM
Before
second.
this, I would.
I went with my heart.
I had TSM second,
No,
and
dude.
now I'm sad.
I don't know. I wasn't drinking that TSM Kool-Aid. They were trying to give me an LCS, man. I was like, nope. You gotta for me, you gotta show me you can do this shit. And I get it's different or a different players each time, but it's if I get constantly cheated on by my girlfriend, you know what? At the 8th time, I'm like, she'll probably stop cheating on me. No, it's probably not gonna happen, But hey.
So for my group, I had Gen.G first, LGD second, TSM third, and Fnatic fourth. Fnatic's earlier in the show, we had talked about disappointments and surprises. I never got to say my biggest surprise because that right now that's Fnatic. I think Fnatic has actually played very well and higher than expectations for me personally during these first 3 games. I think they beat TSM pretty cleanly. I know TSM made some mistakes, but Fnatic made right calls. They abused the hell out of TSM when TSM let them. They got beat up a bit by LGD, and then I think they came back, fixed a lot of their mistakes, and beat what I think was a very good Gen.G team. So I actually think I can see Fnatic getting out of this group. Then for me, that becomes LGD and Gen.G, and I'll be honest, Gen.G I'm a little bit weary on because I feel like if Roller can't carry this team, if he isn't in a position to be the top player on his team, and he gets isolated, they could easily. I think Gen.G loses a lot of those games.
Let's just not have Rakan with Spellbook.
Why do people blinding Rakan constantly? They're constantly blinding
Yeah,
Rakan.
did you see the report? Did you see what someone on the Korean Reddit forum said? They said whoever made life take no flash and unsealed spellbook, they need to have something thrown at them or something like that. Because it was a finable offense or something.
I think Rakan blind is fine, but yeah, unsealed spellbook is horrible. Guardian's a great one for him, even aftershock if you need to.
I don't necessarily mind the unsealed, but why do you not have flash for level 1? That's one of the most abusable things. You can't rotate to a different summoner spell. If you don't get the all-in kill right there, good luck. What do you do for the next 5 minutes?
You're against Leona. Why the hell do you not have flash? You're against a Leona.
Oh, Life. I told people, hey, Life was the worst player for Gen.G going in. The only he's a big part as to why you could beat Gen.G. They have issues and glaring weaknesses, but it takes an actual team with the brain to actually understand it. They have plays you can beat them through. Things like that. Life literally running it down in minute 1.
But I definitely like LGD out of this group the most. I think their play-ins, the first round of play-ins, they were taking horrible fights they had no vision of and getting abused out of it because I think the teams from emerging regions are not as bad as they used to be. They can actually out-team fight teams if you walk into them with no vision. And they've kind of stopped that completely. If they get leads on teams, I'm actually more fearful for any team in this group because I think they're able to control their game and set up the right fights and abuse teams over and over again. I think the only way any of these teams are going to beat LGD this next round is if they get major early game advantages and they have to force them to fight too early. Because I think the later the game gets, the better LGD team fights gets and the scarier they become. And if you lose them early, you're not going to be able to get ahead of them late. I think LGG is a very scary team, and I'm just up on China altogether. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of people laughed at me when I put them second, and they were like, dude, did you not see them in groups? But I saw them fix a lot of their mistakes, and we're seeing it here again. I'm not surprised they're 2-1.
All right, let's
I'm
go
not
on.
surprised, but like I don't know. I just think like in play-ins, it kind of showed though, and I feel like if you're gonna use like the play-ins and then now like, and you're gonna say that like the first 3 games for like TSM were bad, so I don't expect them to fix anything. I don't know. I think LGD specifically in play-ins, they had early game advantages, and then they were losing 5v4 fights at Dragon. Like they were losing team fights constantly. That's why they lost. They kept losing team fights.
Well, they were losing team fights because they were literally walking into the opposing team and not putting proper vision down. Again, they weren't setting up the play, and they weren't. When other teams had vision and control of the area, they weren't actually respecting that and even giving up a Drake here and there. They were just fighting for everything when the other team had control. And good teams punish that. Like, if you walk into a team and you have no vision, and they have wards all around you, and they see where you're coming, a good team's going to win that fight, even down some gold.
Well, yeah, I still think they're gonna get second realistically.
Yeah, I still think
Like,
it's
with
Genji. Genji.
given
LGD.
what's happening, I think Genji is gonna get first and LGD will get second, and that'll be that. But
All right, let's go on to Group D. This one's kind of like Group B, except for my pick'ems. I had Unicorns of Love over FlyQuest. Not gonna lie to you guys, because I thought they would at least show something. Because FlyQuest is pretty basic. FlyQuest is pretty basic, but FlyQuest crazy. They got their first win for North America.
Solo.
If you could call that a win.
Solo deserves the all of the honors for Untiltable.
I think you could call that a win for Germany, PoE, over US, because our one out of 2 like original NA players on FlyQuest, one of them ran it down a little bit, and then a little bit. Most deaths at Worlds, by the way, in one game. But also, it seems like the other 3 players on FlyQuest are trying not to lose.
Well, Wild Turtle actually had a really good game.
Wild Turtle's playing really good.
Wild Turtle actually played really well that game, so I can't like.
Yeah.
As much as I want to say, yeah, PoE's back, like, must be hurting, Wild Turtle definitely helped a lot. I think PoE was the main reason they won, but I think Wild Turtle actually played, like, really well, and to say that it was all PoE would be kind of disingenuous, but yeah, Solo just kind of...
You can't say that Turtle played well because he's an old NA boomer. We want young talent, okay? So he has to retire.
Oh, shit.
I'm trolling.
Yeah. I think Wild Turtle actually. I know. So like Statline's gonna say otherwise, but I think like especially because like AD carry, I think you have to ×2 what they're actually looking like because they're playing such utility Senna, Jhin, Ashe. I think like Wild Turtle is actually the best player on FlyQuest right now. Like in Worlds, not otherwise. I think different, but I think like in the past 3 games, Wild Turtle has been the best. You look at his like early laning, even against Jackie Love, like Jackie Love of all players, they almost had a solo kill. Like what? Like he messed up a flash and like they should have gone for the free recall. But like I think Wild Turtle and the way he's been pressuring lane has actually looked way better than any of the other NA AD carries and a lot of other a lot of other AD carries in general. I'll give you that.
You mean tactical? Like I'm pretty sure
Tactical's been good too.
NA AD carry.
Yeah, but I also think they got kind of shafted by
Suning.
Raven. So and Suning. So I think in play-ins you could say that Tactical was the best NA AD carry XD, but in group stage I'd say Wild Turtle's better.
I would say Tactical's better, but
overall, yes.
I think Tactical really they honestly, I don't think it was mainly Draven just shitting on them as well as the fact that SOFM was literally living down there for a little bit. Like SOFM kept them off of CS, like they didn't get any XP or CS for like the first 2 minutes of the game.
I'm not saying like overall like Wild Turtle's MVP or anything like that. I'm saying like how Liquid has matched up, or how like Tactical and Wild Turtle have matched against their opponents, and how they've played against their opponents, and what they've done to try and match up against their opponents. Wild Turtle has been more successful and has looked better. I'm not saying that like Tactical's like the worst player in the world or that he's playing bad. I genuinely think he's playing good. And I think Draft has shafted him a couple times, to be honest. But I think Wild Turtles looked better, personally.
Okay. Oh, I love Wild Turtle. I think he's cute. Wait, what? Wrong conversation. Wrong conversation. All right, so
Yeah, that group.
dude,
Didn't
top
Seoul-
esports. Like, do you guys predict any?
Top?
Like, could Top potentially get 4th place in this group? No, I'm just kidding.
No. Top is getting. I'm actually a little bit sad because like for me, like at least Damwon has JDG, and so I think like Damwon is getting like at least for 2 games out of the 6 that they play, at least they're getting some amount of pressure. But like with Top or TES, like I think that Top, they're just so far ahead of every other team in their group that like no one is challenging them at all.
I think the DRX game was actually really good for a while.
I closed that tab because I thought DRX had won. I saw a team fight and I was like, okay, DRX won, and I tapped out.
Yeah, they won top side, and I was like, all right, they're gonna win. And then it was like,
yeah,
nope,
I thought it was over.
Nope,
after,
that game was.
Doran is just too heavy.
It was somewhat close, but I felt like DRX. Yeah, they won that team fight, and the very next team fight after that, it's like Top was like, okay, we're gonna try now, and they instantly just like, I think Jackie Love flashed in, and they instantly just like wiped DRX and like ended that game. Like it was like okay, we're playing with our food. You got something here? Okay, we're gonna end this now before you think you have a chance. And it was like over, but like, and it was like impressive how quickly they turned that game and turned it off. Like I was with you, Floyd. I thought, oh, DRX might win this game. This is close. This is exciting. And then I watched Top completely like dismantle them and throw them to the side, and it was like, yeah, you thought you had a chance here, you didn't.
Well,
Yeah, I think that just if you're in Group A or B right now, you do not want second seed because Top Esports is going to wreck your shop. That's all. That's it. Top Esports is the best team at this tournament, bar none, to me. Because they have that killer instinct. Because they have moments where it's like, oh, this kind of looks like an even. Never mind. They just started playing. And like, picking out like mid Nocturne against like TF and stuff like that. Like drafts have been creative as well. Like
so cool.
the DRX, matchup next time will be really interesting. Like if they lose one game there, okay, that's actually below expectations for me. I don't think they should drop a game until maybe semis, but that's just how I feel.
I hope it gets spicy.
Those for Unicorns of Love, I've never seen such worse laning in my life in a mid and top laner. These guys are just god damn, they just are actually bad laners. They're legitimately terrible laners for nomads and bots.
And like I think the other thing that about Top that like for me makes them that puts them above DWG is that they can play any lane, almost any style. Like they're so versatile in what style they can play and what lane they play around. They don't even have to play around the lane. They can play around the jungle. They can play around mid, bot, top, you name it. They can do it. And so for me, that amount of like, oh, what are they going to do this game makes them so hard to face because you don't know when you're like for Fly, you basically know what you're getting into when you face them, and so you can build a composition. You don't know what you're getting into when you face Top.
So real quick,
I was gonna add to the point of even other like Chinese teams are infamous for like doubling down on their own play style. Like you saw last year with Tian and Doinby just going everywhere and just like going all around the map. And like you look at what is it, LGD and like Peanut, and they play just for jungle, and that's kind of it. That's like they're the most one-dimensional team ever. Like Chinese teams double down on shit. To see Top like have like an array of things to do and have these weird drafts and be able to do everything is crazy.
So the one thing I would say though is what really surprised me was I think JDG can actually still beat Top. So I'm not going to forget that they took them to 5 games in summer and they actually beat them in spring. But also I think you can do the exact same with Dom1. Ghost isn't a pushover. I mean, he was all team second behind Ruler, who people still say is up there with Jackie Love, arguably for the best ADC in the world. So you can play the same thing. Like Nuguri went who did he play first game? I think Camille or somebody. Who did he play? I forget. And then he picked fucking Lulu the next game and still did great. So I think Damwon can do just as much as Top can, actually. And I would say they could do it better.
I mean, I realistically think this Worlds is 3 teams and a bunch of other good teams. Like
I agree.
The rest of the
fully
world
agree
is the
with
dark
that
horse.
I fully agree with that.
It's like
I agree.
Yeah, like this, that, or the other.
It's like top Damwon.
I think Gen G is a successful dark horse.
It's
I'll
like
put it that way.
It's like top Damwon, JDG, however way you want to word it, and then the field.
Yeah,
I think
it's
there's
not
a
like
B
a
tier.
close
I think
gap
if, like,
either.
I think if I say there's like if there's a tier list, I think it's like those are the S tier, the top 3, and then I definitely will say Suning, G2, and Gen G are all like the A tier. Maybe not G2. I'll give you if you don't want to put G2 there, but I think you could put Suning and Gen G at that like tier, just because of like players like BDD and Ruler.
And PSG. Don't forget PSG.
I mean,
I wouldn't even.
I will say though, Machi and PSG's solo laners actually, and their AD carries, like in terms of just like laning, have been pretty impressive to me in terms of like how they've been able to manipulate lane states. Like maybe their overall the collective is not as good against other teams, but it's nice seeing like people like Mission and Unified and even PK doing kind of nice stuff in the top lane for them over there. But
I think at least 2 players in Machi Esports are going to be in the LPL next year. It might not be on the top teams, it might be on some bottom teams, but their jungler and I think their mid laner will be picked up by an LPL team.
I know.
yeah,
I know the topic isn't about like PCS teams, but I think this has been a great showing for PCS teams and like a big thing for their future. Like this is like VMS level.
yeah. See, and that's the one thing I am so sad that we couldn't have Vietnam at this tournament because it would have just been that much better in my opinion.
Mhm.
Not saying that like PSG, wouldn't have been like as fun to watch in play-ins or stuff like that, but like Team Flash and GAM, like Team Flash, if they were in Group A over like G2s, I might have taken them.
I'll be honest. I think Europe should send a big thank you bag over to the Vietnamese government because with how big their player base is and seeing the improvements in things like PCS and Taiwan, they're starting to rebuild their talent base. Vietnam has gotten better over the years. I mean, their player base has exploded a ton, and we talked earlier.
Second biggest player base, I believe, to China.
That's crazy.
I thought it was Brazil. Is it not Brazil?
No, Brazil's like in terms of like the server, like League of Legends server.
Okay,
Like,
okay.
Brazil has one of the most hyped fans.
Yeah,
That's
Brazil numbers wise is actually very comparable to NA.
I always thought they had more players.
But like, I think if Vietnam's in this tournament, I honestly think we're seeing them take some of the spots of these Fanatics, these G2s, even some of these Sunings and stuff. Like, I think
I'm with you. I think if Team Flash goes against DRX, even like there's a chance that like these Vietnamese teams, like we have like 1 or 2 Vietnamese teams, 1 Korean team, and then 3 Chinese teams or something like that. It's kind of fun. And it's sad that this could have been like the best Worlds, even though COVID and everything. But
yeah.
I mean, okay. So the last topic. What happens if we get no Western teams? Like, let's say Machi pull off an upset on G2 and TL, and Fnatic loses out to Gen G and LGD. How bad of a look would it be if no Western teams makes it to quarters this year, especially with Vietnam in it? Would that be like
burn it
I
all
think
down,
it's a worse
start
thing.
over?
I think it'd be a worse thing for EU than it would be for NA, and I think that is the case because a lot of EU like teams are saying, "Oh, we'll get out above NA teams," and I think like the other thing is that NA teams as a whole, we don't have expectations for NA teams getting out. Like a lot of like the NA, like when I like for me, like I consider myself a Western fan, not an ANA fan at Worlds because I don't expect NA teams to get out. So like I rest all my hope on EU. and like G2 and the Fnatic to get out of groups and show what the West can do. And so I think like it's a massive failure on EU as a
I'm
whole.
a salty fan. So when NA does bad, fuck EU, because EU fans are literally the worst fans I could think of. So I don't want EU to do good, because then I can equally shit talk EU fans.
I can agree with that a little bit. I would love it if EU and both LCS missed out, and we can just have the LCS memes like, come over to the burning trash can with us. We'll show you what it's like here.
Or let's just raise the salary of all the EU players and bring them over here. It's as simple as that. If we're both gonna lose, then what's the point?
What's the meme? It's like, this is your first time?
Oh yeah.
Which actually isn't, because they have missed groups completely in past worlds in the past. They don't want you to bring that up, though.
No.
What's funny is NA has actually been better than EU up until 2018, when G2 and Fnatic both made semifinals.
And like people forget, man.
People forget. Asterisks on that?
People forget, dude.
With the Fnatic.
In 2016,
obviously.
In 2016, NA 6-0'd EU. CLG beat G2 4 times. So someone said, "Oh, that was a different G2. It was Sven and Mithy." No, you suck. You lost to the same people 4 times. You're bad. And then TSM beat Splice twice. And H2K, they didn't face any NA teams that year. I mean, hey, that's just luck to me. But I mean, there's been years where NA's been better. A few, not all. You know.
So, barring the very first championship, which I don't count because that was literally like what 5 teams, 6 teams in the fucking world. Like, yeah, okay.
And in one of the semifinal games featuring Doublelift's team, one of their players actually DC'd, and they forced them to play the game 4v5.
Yeah, so like
Wait, really?
realistically,
Oh god.
Yeah, the original team that Doublelift was on, I forget what it was called, but they came out of groups as like the top seed favorite, and when they went against somebody, one of their players had an issue and a bug that forced them to DC, and they played the rest of that game as a 5v4 because they had no system to get They had no system there. There was no like replay system or anything like that. There was no chrono break. There was no pausing system really.
When was this?
Season 1 Worlds.
Oh, Epic.
Epic. Yeah.
Oh.
We've come a long way.
So realistically, NA has been better than EU every year except 2. And it's been the most recent years. I guess 3 now, because NA's not been.
I don't agree with that, because you had Gambit in Season 3 and CLGEU. I mean, in Season 2, they were clearly better than the NA teams. The season after that, I believe Fnatic made semifinals beating Cloud9, so I'd say EU was better at them on that one.
Having one good team better does not make the region better, which is why I have not put EU above Korea.
What is the statement? I'm sorry.
Also, Gambit did better than any other NA team in Season 3 as well, so that's 2 EU teams that did better. No NA team made it out of groups that year.
The original thing was if no Western team makes it out, and then we went on to say like if my thing was that as a NA fan, like as a Western fan, I want EU fans to get out, and then Shenryu and Khan said that they don't like EU and that they hope that EU doesn't make it out.
4 thoughts.
That's a lot.
That's a take and a half.
You're good for a while.
I try. Yeah, I guess so. I tried to understand like where this was going, and then we like dipped into another wormhole, and then I'm like trying to find out how the two.
Well, the latest argument was Shenryu said that the only times EU really outperformed us, if you don't count Season 1 Worlds, was the last 2 Worlds, and I was actually fighting back and saying no. They
Okay, well, no. There's the year when Origin and Fnatic both were in semis, which is not the last 2 years. Obviously, the last 2 years they've had finalists each time.
Origin.
I think I think the only time that you can say NA actually outperformed EU outside of Season 1 is what y'all are saying, excluding that, is 2014 Season 4 Worlds, when both Cloud9 and that was the year of Kaboom, I believe.
That was the year that EU missed no EU team got out of groups.
Yeah, so that was the year, and then the next year, 2005, is the only one 0 and 10. 2016.
I think we were better than EU in 2016.
No, because that was the Misfits year.
No,
Was it not?
That 2017. NA beat EU all in 2016. It was like they won 0 games against us. And besides-
2016 had H2K.
Yeah, but like they didn't face any NA teams though, and we were beating them all year though. That's where it's like maybe.
Okay, but here. Then this is my question: what is the ultimate goal in this EU versus NA rivalry?
Whoever
Is it to have a better overall record versus them, but you still don't make it out of groups?
Yes.
Or that? Okay, well, I don't think that's good because
I think it's to have the most competitive league. I think if you look at like LCK and LPL, those are the most fun leagues to watch because there's so many competitive teams. I think as a viewer, every viewer should want to have the most competitive, awesome leagues in every region. I think it's frustrating.
I think it's only the LPL.
Yeah, I'll argue Korea. I think Korea has some really fun games, even if they're sometimes like stompy or trashy. I think they show some excellence, and even Europe does it as well. But like, I hate this argument where people are like, oh well, NA better than EU. This that the other. It's like, okay, well, what league is better? Realistically, let's compare stop comparing the top teams for a second. Let's compare the bottom teams. Let's put Immortals and Dignitas
Rogue can beat TSM
versus who was the bottom teams of EU?
Origin.
It was like Origin and like
Vitality and
XL or whatever.
Yeah,
Vitality. You know,
something
like
that,
that's
yeah.
great. That's a mismatch. You know, like that's a bit of a mismatch.
I mean,
so, like,
I think just to be fair, I also think the difference between like our 10, 9, and 8 teams is vastly different than the rest of the league in terms of like overall strength. I think CLG is absolute
CLG.
dumpster.
I mean, when it comes to the
So I think that NA has better bottom 2 teams than EU has bottom teams, but I think that overall EU's 10 teams are better than NA's 10 teams.
I would disagree a little bit with that. I think NA's bottom tier teams are worse than EU's bottom tier teams. I think EU's top tier teams are better than NA's top tier teams. But I think NA's middle tier teams, the teams that are like in the middle, your TL this year, your C9, your Golden Guardians, are better than the middle tier teams that you're going to get from the LEC. Like, I'll take TL, C9, and GGS against Rogue, Mad Lions, and Schalke in a head-to-head series with those teams.
Okay, so
like, go ahead.
Well, okay, hold on.
After.
Let's do 4, 5, and 6 to make it fair, because Mad's the 4 and TL's the 3, right?
Last closing ones on this, and we'll go to another thing. But for me, I just don't really think NA's. I don't know. Like, I don't like how people do like, you know, hey, G2's good, so that means everyone else is gonna region's good. That's not how that works. That's literally not how that works. And and you also have to factor in luck of the draw. But to be fair, you can play devil's advocate with the argument. G2 is from EU, so that means if G2 is from EU doing well, does that mean EU is doing well? You can spin it either way.
Definitely luck of the draw is one people ignore. People went out of last year's Worlds thinking that G2 were the clear number 2 team in the world. And I think if you had an unbiased, unobjective at looking at that Worlds, they were clearly not the second best team at that Worlds. And
really?
They weren't even better than Griffin.
The Griffin would have destroyed them, dude. Griffin did.
Yeah, they were probably even the
Really?
third best team.
Yeah,
Okay, so
They beat Damwon and they beat SKT, some of the best Korean teams, and you think that they would have gotten destroyed by Griffin in a best of 5?
I think
Yeah,
They lost some best of 1s. Like they lost like what 2 best of 1s and a tiebreaker and
almost a best of 3 at that point.
group stage match, or like maybe 2 group stage matches. I can't remember because it's
Yeah.
it's been
They
a
lost
while.
back-to-back
In
group
a
stage
best of
matches
5,
against them.
In a best of 5 with a week's worth of prep, I think G2 beats Griffin any day of the week.
No, the reason why they don't beat Griffin is because Griffin was very much like Chinese teams last year in playing lanes hard and abusing early game, and that was G2's weaknesses. That's why Griffin, in that second week when they beat them in the best of 1, and they went right back and played immediately after in a tiebreaker game, and they spanked them even harder, they actually just countered G2's sense. Where at last year, Damwon and SKT played towards G2 strength, which was being slow, letting the game go out longer, and letting G2's macro smart plays get through.
I would have to say that I agree. Yeah, I think G2 is probably the fourth best team
I think
at
G2
Worlds last year.
I think G2 just matched up against the Korean teams better than they matched up against
With what
the Chinese
Khan's saying,
teams.
yeah.
Yeah, because
I think.
I don't think they were better than IG either.
I still think they were top 4. Hey, I still think they were top 4. I just don't think they were the second best team. I think because people say they had it. No, they didn't have it easy.
Well, but they were the second. If they weren't the second best team, why did they get in the finals, huh? The answer would be that one, atheist.
From what I see it, Worlds doesn't show the best team, like the best teams, like it's
Double
not,
elimination.
Like, 2, 3, 4,
there we go.
But it shows the best. It shows the winner. It shows the best team. It doesn't show like the rest of the best. It just shows the number one.
The point is not. The point is never to show what like a power ranking system like holistically. The point is to show the best team because you're not like, all right, and we're gonna have our trophy server from 1 to 6. Everybody join.
You know, World, dude. You know,
Yeah,
what
well,
needs?
and like,
Worlds needs a third and fourth place match. Just why not? You're already out. Just play another best of 5. I would have liked.
Yeah, I kind of like that because that's what the World Cup does, and even though it's like sometimes like it doesn't matter if you're third or fourth, I just like to see it.
I want to see it.
Yeah,
I would have loved to see
G2
versus G2 versus C9 after they got clapped by Fnatic and IG.
that would have been sick.
Can
you imagine an IG versus SKT matchup from last year? That would have been fun.
That would have been pretty lit.
Sick rookie versus shitty Faker.
Oh no! Oh, and Faker fan plays come out. He said Faker's not good. Go attack you and shit. Oh shit! But
Worst thing.
all right, I'm just saying EU sucks. You guys still believe in kings and queens? I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Not really.
Monarchy is dead.
So is it time? Is it time to
Democracy.
talk about the new NA region?
Oh, OPL. Yes, guys, OPL is ending.
Oh God.
Who wants to
Wait,
start?
so what happened? I didn't hear the news.
OPL's dead. Literally dead.
They didn't pull
Okay,
it.
it's going to be
They-
better than that.
Okay,
They killed OPL.
Riot put about as much effort into the OPL statement of dissolving the league as you do into your weekly Q&A sessions in college classes, okay? It is like a 3 line paragraph or whatever talking about, it didn't really work. Oh well, OPL, bye-bye. Oh, Oceanic players are no longer considered imports in NA. See you later.
Now,
And that was
That was
basically
a
it.
bombshell, by the way, though.
for me, when I heard last year they were already cutting the funding, I was like, that's not a good sign. That's already not a good sign. And in the article, it even says like it's not sustainable. They basically say it's not sustainable. They basically word it that way. So I was like,
They said they didn't.
Yeah.
Ryoma got another year.
Oh yeah, Ryoma doesn't count as an import slot. Yay!
Ryoma's going to get a whole nother year as a starter in North America.
Well, there's actually a lot of people who actually benefit from this. Triple, who's been on the show before, will no longer be counted as an import.
Dude,
Lost,
FBI is going to be the hottest agent on the market. Holy shit.
Lost, who's the 80 carry sub for TSM. FBI, as you just mentioned, for Golden Guardians. Fudge, who's the Cloud9.
Yeah, Fudge.
Mhm.
Holy shit.
And then also King, who is another ADC from Cloud9. So these are some really like decent names that weren't going to be able to see LCS play because of their import slot, and then obviously the aforementioned of Ryoma. But now, like, you can look for an import jungler for 100 Thieves, or even like an import like support to help out, or something like that. You can look for bigger name players and keep like the same ones. But overall, the announcement of the OPL getting dissolved hurts me a lot. I hate it. I don't think that when they say it's not sustainable, I think they about put as much effort into it as they did announcing that it was going to get dissolved, because there are multiple people who I know personally who have like, always asked Riot for help and were told no, and that it didn't really matter. This is also the region that had like the Tainted Minds thing happen that a long time ago. It's really, really sad. I personally do not think that the Riot global ecosystem is better without the OPL having like an official region.
So I
Mike,
think it's
I just found out just now, but I absolutely despise this. I think that this is one of the worst moves that Riot has made in terms of esports in a long time. And the reason why is because I think overall this hurts NA NA's chances at getting a good making a good culture, because now we don't have good like our solo queue is not good. Our the infrastructure of NA and trying to get pros is not good. And so now that the OPL is open, look at how many ADCs are already in Academy and the LCS. And so I think that it's just there are so many better players in the OPL than there are on Academy teams and are on LCS teams. And so I think that it's gonna hurt NA North America as in Canada and the US. I think it's gonna hurt them, but I also think it's gonna hurt the OPL as a whole, because I think that the OPL could have, if they had put more money into it, I think it could have been such a good region. Do what you did to the OPL as you did to the PCS, and I think it can bring it up to the PCS and Vietnam levels eventually. And so for me, I'm just really mad because for me, I think this hurts the longevity of it, of the esport.
So I actually think it's better. I think so. Yeah. I think it's. I don't like it. I think it sucks for Spawn. Spawn super passionate about OPL. I think it sucks for a lot of the casters and a lot of people that put their careers into this. But overall, for the player base, the OPL players, I think it's actually better because realistically, look what happened to Legacy. You can take a lot of their best players from OPL and maybe slot them into a few spots here in the LCS, and now they have a chance to actually play in groups. They have a better shot, and I think a lot of the OPL players, I think it gives them more room to shine.
I'm gonna really quick here. I mean, I can go on a long thing here, but to counteract Shenryu's point, because I think Flair, you're gonna say something afterwards.
Yeah.
That argument sounds good if you're only focusing on a couple of the top players. They have a full, at least 100, probably 100-player league if you count subs and stuff.
Well, they have an Academy League. They have OPPL or whatever.
So that's 100 players, and if maybe 10 to 15 of them come to NA, sure, that's better for those 10 or 15 players. But the other 85 players just got the middle finger and are basically out of a job.
Yeah, well, that's why I say that's why I said in the beginning it sucks because a lot of people are losing their livelihoods. So I agree in the general sense, the vast majority it sucks, but for the select few, it could be a better opportunity, which I think it's shitty.
So I come from, before I watched the league, I watched Counter-Strike, and you have to look at this from two perspectives. One, if it's not making money, it's not making money. How franchise leagues are right now in almost every region, besides I think either Korea or China, are investment projects right now. They're not making much money if they're not even making money, period. I think the LCS finally had its first surplus here, where they actually made more money than they spent or something like that. Either way, if the reality is that they're not making money, they're not making money. Riot doesn't have to put money into it, period. Second reality is what talent is going to come out of the OPL. And the reality is they can't get scrims in other East Asian teams. They can't create enough talent to create a surplus of well results over a long period of time. There is zero way that there's going to be a great LPL future, realistically. And I say that because coming from Counter-Strike, it's honestly better to cut off regions like that, because you can give them this opportunity to do their own thing their own way. In a sense where if they're going to have privately owned tournaments now, and they're going to go no OPL, no this, that, the other, they can have their own way of doing tournaments. If they want to do best of threes, they can do best of threes. If they want to do best of sevens, they have everything available to them now, and they can do things their own way without being handcuffed. The only thing the OPL actually did for them was have a serviceable league and have a ecosystem for things. Now they're not under the Riot ecosystem. Now they have more freedoms. I'm not saying it's necessarily a good thing, but I'm not saying it's really the worst thing in the world either. And if anything, it's a great thing for those players that can finally break free and go to NA and have that less import slot and have value in other places where they wouldn't have value in the OPL, because they're pigeonholed at that point.
Well, here comes my rant, though, on the whole OPL situation.
Yeah, go ahead, and then I'll go.
First of all, I think Riot's... we should all thank the LCS owners for bitching at Riot and telling them they need to make fucking money, or else this could have been our league. Because we heard for so many years that Riot is happy running esports at a loss. We're doing this for the players. That's all that matters. Well, this kind of shows you that's bullshit. That once it starts not being positive for their bottom line, they're going to turn that league off. And if it wasn't for the owner stepping up in North America and saying, no, we need to actually become franchised so we can make money, force you to accept sponsors, and make this thing into a profit, this could be the LCS in 3 or 4 years. Second, when it comes to Australia, I'm a very big taking in of Australian content, and I know League's not that popular there, but Australia is a breeding ground for content creators and influencers. It wouldn't have taken very much of Riot to actually get the right influencers with some money into their OPL ecosystem to attract the fan base there. You look at people like Laserbeam, Mulesoak, Fresh, Lachlan. These people have 11 million plus subs on YouTube. These guys are the top trending people on YouTube. Just getting some of them involved in the League of Legends scene and getting them out there would make a big difference in that community. These guys they're even more popular than your Nade Shots, your Courage JDs, your Tim the Tatmans. They're like, honestly, some of them are ninja level content creators over there for those regions. It wouldn't have taken much to get League interesting over there. They just didn't try.
I disagree, because you can't just go, oh, hey, like over here in this US, you don't go, hey, Ninja, come play League. You know, it's like, it's not how that works. Yeah, you can sell them the best sponsor stream you can, but by the end of the day, they're going to play Fortnite, or they're going to play this, or they're going to play that. You can't just say, hey, come play League. You know, it's like,
it's not this for League. Like, get them involved in ownership of a team. Have them be there routinely at OPL events.
Could have. That probably was a thing.
Yeah, it wasn't.
No. It wasn't, and here's the main thing. It's not like you get them into League, and I don't care if anyone else goes and plays Fortnite at the end of the day, but if you get these people, and the optics say that X amount of people are watching these people promoting League or playing League and stuff like that, then investors and other people from the local areas will be like, this is where I can make money and put more money into. And if you have these content creators like Laserbeams, MidBeast, whomever, all these people who are like massive over there, because the population's all on one side basically of Australia, like the majority of 90% of the population. If you can have it right there, it doesn't matter if my son goes and plays Fortnite or Rocket League afterwards. The bottom line is that you can make money off of this. And to Khan's point, from personal experience of talking to people who have been working in the OPL since its inception, I mean, people forget that, like, the OPL gave us Atlas, it gave us Rusty, it gave us Spawn, it gave us Frost, it gave us Pastry Time, it gave us Papa Smithy. I mean, like, all of these people... Raz was with the LPL team, but the OPL team also gave us the original LPL squad. Like, they were doing both of those things. And they were doing it for the passion and making the scene better. And when they reach out to say, hey, we want to make the scene better, will you, Papa Riot, help us? They were like, no. And it's like, it's just really disheartening. I'm glad the owners have made it to where the LCS isn't like that, at least for now. I'm not sold that it's like a super sustainable and that we need to get more, but it's very frustrating. And to wrap my point up, I also think it's an incredibly weird timing for two reasons. Can you imagine if Legacy actually had beaten LGD, and then this comes out and you're playing for a region that doesn't exist anymore? And then two...
Well, they still get world spots.
Yeah, but no offense. Fuck that shit. Like, what are you gonna do? Just tell you and your friends to like make a team and then y'all compete in a tournament versus like some randos and hope y'all get to play at MSI and Worlds?
Well, that's sort of how Counter-Strike works. I mean, that Counter-Strike is built that ecosystem where it's like you qualify through random ass shit, and like every tournament is held by different organizers, and they're big tournaments, you know.
Yeah, but those tournament organizers are the thing, and if there wasn't an infrastructure there to begin with in the OPL, then that's why Riot put themselves there with the Sydney office, and now they're taking that out. How do you make that happen? Like, who's going to come in and step up to make those things happen for those things? And then the second thing, before you finish your point, is it's so funny that now they're like, oh, O's talent can come in import lists, right? It's like, okay, So do we want to focus on breeding NA talent, or are we going to band-aid this with like O's talent coming and filling in these NA voids and stuff?
Why does Oceania have to be NA's only? Like, why are they only NA residents technically now? Why can't they be residents in any other league?
Yeah, and
I agree with that.
also,
I
why
agree
can't
with
LATAM and like CB Lowell also be this way? Like, why can't it be that way
I
for?
thought the same thing. Why not Latin America, CB LOL, CIS? Like, why can't?
Jose Dioto.
Yeah. Like, if I think that is, it's so arbitrary, and it just felt like a little handout. Like at the end, like, oh, but don't worry, you'll have chances if you want to uproot your entire life from Australia and come over here for a chance to be on a team.
That's why I said.
It's like,
Because
what?
Because I made a video about this earlier that most people like watched already. It's just that it works two different ways. Like I come at it from the job standpoint because I have a job myself. You guys all have jobs. You go to college. Like imagine just one day you just don't have a job and it's all of a sudden your job is gone. It's like that really sucks to people that put in years and years of years into this. Like I'm looking at it from their perspective, like Spawn, and all the other guys there. Now, to be fair, Riot could just contact them and be like, "Hey, could you remote broadcast and be on the analyst desk for future LCS stuff or EU stuff or wherever they get hired?" I think they'll be okay in terms of that. But in terms of the players, like you have to bring over the players to make them have a chance of getting on the LCS org. We literally just started this split, this 2020 LCS summer split of just playing newer players like Insanity and all the other guys that played out throughout the split. We just started that, and we're supposed to believe that we're gonna have the Oceanic players come in and start playing on all the LCS teams. We've already heard orgs don't take chances on new players outside of maybe Cloud9, 100 Thieves. TSM has their little third team too. So it's like I don't know.
I think they'll take chances, but like you brought up Spawn as somebody like he's an actual owner of an OPL org.
Yeah, he is.
Like he's put so much effort into that region. He's actually been an owner of the org and is trying to build it up. And like today, it's like your org doesn't have a league to compete in now.
Also, this is the biggest thing that is frustrating to me. It's like it's not like they told everybody that this was going to happen with like due time, right? Like there are people who are probably trying to like think about off-season moves and stuff like that for this next OPL split.
That's true.
And now you're like, hey, by the way, 80 plus people who've been working in this league, you have no more job anymore. You got 4 months to figure out your life because you probably only like put away like 3 months to where you thought you were going to start your job up again. It's
So,
that's insane.
So like what I think is sucks is like yeah, not only that, but people have families. Like you're just pretty much expecting them to say, "Hey guys, yeah, I'm out of here. Like I'm gonna go take my fucking chances in LA and be on some LCS team and just ditch their family completely." And not only that, but like another thing that sucks is people like bringing up Spawn. Like he's been on multiple worlds cooldowns after all of these days, and he has continuously talked about how like excited he is for OPL and how much like he fucking loves watching the OPL and how much he loves like doing stuff for them. And then like 2 days later, like the first day that Worlds isn't happening, hey, by the way, all that hard work and passion you have is useless. It's gone.
Spawn isn't on the desk for like the rest of Worlds for some reason. We're just
Man,
like it's slid under the table and we don't know why.
I don't understand. He's literally just had his whole life, essentially what he put into, like just taken away from him. It's just
after the best Oceanic showing ever,
Right,
they're
right?
like, yeah, we've been improving and we can see it. We have actual tangible results. And then Riot's like,
I will say, here's a question I have for you guys. Obviously, these players, they're considering them as NA talent. Now they can go on NA teams. I don't know if there's room enough to hypothetically get all these Oceanic pros legitimately practicing in NA to like vet them out properly. Could you see a world where the LCS owners come together and work with maybe some of the old OPL owners and stuff and try and create a almost like pseudo academy type league in
Oceania?
I would say like 2 teams.
I would hope so.
Wait, so I have a question.
I don't see it happening,
I have
though.
a question for like, and so like this has to do with like Worlds, but like because I don't know, but if say the OPL like has their own league and say they get it to a viewership and like on their own, like entirely on their own without Riot's help, do you think that Riot could, like hypothetically, could or would bring them back if they got viewership and their own thing at a high enough level too? And
Riot
also,
will
to
just
Claire's
come.
point,
Riot will just come if there's money to be had. That's basically.
Yeah, if OPL starts being successful, 100% Riot will come in and say, we're taking control back of the league, it's our game. Because nobody has actually challenged them in a legal system to try and get them out of their leagues. I've always felt that Riot in control of all of these leagues is a horrible thing. I think they run them in the way that makes most sense for Riot and not what makes most sense profitability and longevity for the league. And there's never been a case, unfortunately, in America, and I don't know about Europe, where a esport has been able to take themselves away from the company that makes the game. There's always this legal argument that if you're playing this game, the company that made it has a right to say if you're allowed to play their game publicly. It's horrible. But if OPL's going to have a slot still at Worlds, whatever that looks like. But if they get a successful independent region going, Riot can probably 100% jump in there and say, we're taking this back over because we want to cut to the spy.
Hey guys, your jobs are all back here. I didn't take them away.
And then the other thing is I don't does that mean that I don't see why they're taking why they're getting rid of the OPL when there's Brazil and Latin America.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna bring up too. Is could this happen to Brazil? Could this happen to Russia, Latin America, Japan?
I thought about it, and it was probably a language idea. I don't think it was a good idea, but they were like, "Oh, they speak English, and that's how they put two and two together." Because I was trying to think why could that decision happen? And that's the only thing I could come up with. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm just saying that's the only thing.
Here's the thing
I can think of.
Brazil is 100% safe because the viewership and actual connection to their fan base there is crazy high. They honestly don't care if they succeed or not in Worlds because they've actually developed the right system, which is the fans care about their league and their teams, and all the extra stuff is a little bit of gravy. If they do good at Worlds, that's great, but they truly are passionate about their region. So CB LOL is probably the safest besides the LPL overall.
If you're a Brazilian team and win CB LOL, you're winning Worlds. That's it. Or not winning Worlds, but that's Worlds to them.
I can piggyback off that. Because there's a different thing with Russia. Remember there's that Royal Youth team or whatever that had Boker Blade closer or some shit like that? Remember how they left because of uncertainties? And they just left. They just disbanded because of uncertainties. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, CIS is the next region that could hypothetically go because the viewership for them is very, very small. They've mentioned they've seen peaks, but again, if Riot feels like they're not making money and they can integrate them easily into the LEC, LEC is already getting extra spots at Worlds. If you think you can integrate CIS talent into Europe without any problems, I see that being the next region to go.
Even
I was Japan. I was like, who watches the Japan League?
Japan actually gets fairly good views because they have the same similar type of culture about video games being a professional hobby, or a professional job, and also they, at least for their infrastructure, are so close to China and Korea that they can scrim if the teams agree, obviously, against these Korean and LPL teams and stuff.
I know for Japan, one of the reasons why a lot of EDU content and analysts hype up Japan a lot is because they not only are they able to, but a lot of them do indeed scrim LPL and LCK teams. So they actually do scrim. But for as far as Brazil, I remember I think it was LS. They were talking to Shrimp, and Shrimp was saying how he was just walking in the middle of the street, and a fan walked up to him out of nowhere and was like, "Hey, I know you. You're Shrimp. You're the coach," and was just super grateful. Was like, "Oh, I just thank you so much, and I don't care how you do. I'm just a huge fan." And so that is super. And so he was saying "Oh, that was so cool." And I think that's one of the major reasons why the CB LOL, in my opinion, while they don't have many good players, their infrastructure and fan support is so good.
I was going to talk about the UOL and everything, and the fact that they've had such a dominant team that it gets boring. and that I wonder if they've lost viewers because they've had such a dominant team, and that like that could actually like I wonder if like say in a world where the CIS regional league just dies, and the UOL players are just thinking like, man, we played so well just to make the league boring and nobody watch it.
Yeah. Oh well, for me the CIS outside of like the top few teams is a joke. Like they literally had an all-female team.
Oh no!
That
Oh my
lost in,
god!
that lost in like 12 minutes. Like they literally lost to Rift Herald. Like Rift Herald danced in that game.
And the reason why I think Japan is safe is because some of the games that Riot is pivoting to, the fighting game and other games, are going to be games they're going to want to market to Japan more. So while League of Legends and maybe their esports scene isn't taking off and as popular there, I 100% think that Riot wants to keep them in their ecosystem currently because they know these other games are going to be hopefully very big there. Whereas like Australia, Russia, I don't think they care about those regions with their potential player bases in any of those games.
And with that, we're pretty much done. We covered the NA tweet with LS. Did we cover the academy players not being able to scrim the main teams because they'll lose their jobs or some bullshit like that?
No, we haven't covered that.
I think we are all in agreement. That's just sad.
That's just
Well,
sounds
C9
terrible.
does it.
Wait, doesn't
C9 does
C9
it.
do it?
Yeah,
Yes.
C9
No,
does.
No,
does it.
but like just because C9 does it doesn't mean everyone else does it. But it's like
I don't think that subject is worth bringing up because I think one, it's being overblown by a certain person who loves promoting toxic ideas, and two, I want to ask every person here, how excited would you be? You know, because we've heard from actual NA talent, and I think this is where players need to actually use their players association and try and force teams to get better contracts. But we've had players go out and say, if you go from LCS to Academy, your contract gets then shrunken by 60 to 70%.
so. Let's take
That's
it from
stupid.
the numbers. So can someone do the numbers for me? So you have a 400K salary, right? So 400K.
Well, that's average.
Yeah. So like
That's average. But when you have people like Impact, Double F, Tooney making over $1 million, the non-star players are probably averaging around $100,000 a year. Realistically.
So what's 100,000? What's would you say 100,000 divided by 60%? How much money would you actually get though? I'm not a math whiz.
40.
You get
40.
40 or 30,000.
Oh god, I mean you're making more than a teacher. You're making almost barely amount with it because teachers make like what 40K, 45K, something like that. That sounds terrible. You must go be a
Academy
teacher.
players do
No,
not
the
get
other
paid.
thing is like to me that's also awful because it forces to not have the best player. But so like for example, let's say you just don't want to go to Academy no matter what, and you'll do anything in your power not to go to Academy. And so then what happens is that the Academy players get screwed because they're not able to show that they're better. Like no one, like they're not gonna be like, for example, C9, the player, at least from what I've heard, the players on the main roster help the Academy players. Like they want to see the Academy players get better.
Mhm.
If you get like a reduced cut, no one wants to see the Academy players get better because then they might get subbed out. And so it's going to be so bad overall.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
last few
player. Sorry.
Last few ones.
Oh no,
we
you're
gotta
fine.
head out.
Yeah, I'll hurry. So two things: the minimum salary cap for LCS Academy is 75K. The average of normal LCS players, and this I'm pretty sure this is just average, not mean or median, but average is 300K. Now, obviously, there's probably lower, and there's probably much higher.
Yeah.
That's just what I found by like looking up a common Google search and finding it from Greeley himself.
Yeah, because no one's gonna be paying Apollo the same money you pay Bjergsen. That's probably not gonna happen.
True.
And that's the thing. Everybody sees like the average, which is technically the mean, is like 300, 400K. But when you have players like, we know Impact's making $1 million a year. We know Hooney's making $2 million per year. I guarantee you Double Lift is making close to $1 million per year. I'm probably sure, Bjergen actually has less because, TSM usually underpaid players and they're paying him in stock, so he might not be getting as much. But like someone like Core JJ probably making $1 million to $2 million a year. I think people need to separate some of these, people default think somebody like Solo is getting paid $300,000, $400,000 a year. I would be surprised if he makes over $100,000.
I'd be surprised if he made 60.
He has to make 75.
Yeah, I am almost positive he's probably making above 100K. I mean, at least, especially with like,
'Cause he's
I
a
don't know how
Jordan,
much y'all watch
right?
Hotline League. And they talk
Well, think about
a lot of
this. He
salary
was
stuff,
brought
but-
in as like a coach and then joined the FlyQuest team during playoffs when they were like not sure if he was going to be successful. So he's not playing on a contract of a top.
No, they
player.
redid his contract. They redid his contract after I think like the like what 6th or 7th week once they brought him in as a player.
Yeah.
But they had to redo his contract, so they were paying him like enough to meet the minimum.
Probably, but I mean, they probably like had clauses and shit. I mean,
will
a lot
be
of these
right
players
back.
have agents.
Okay, like 5 minutes.
Okay.
I mean, go ahead.
I just think the whole topic is stupid because it hurts the league overall. Like, no matter what way you put it, like there's no good reason for why this. Like, I don't see a case where where you can argue for this. And like, for me, the worst thing is it hurts the longevity of it hurts the ecosystem of the pro players. Like, academy players are getting screwed. LCS players are getting screwed. Everyone above that trying to get into the academy and LCS, they're screwed too. Like, it just feels so, I don't even know how to.
Again, I think the headline, it sounds bad. I mean, LS only said this is one team he heard it from, and he said he heard it directly from the team. I can probably imagine what team that probably is off the top of my head. It's somebody who's evil.
Geniuses?
Yeah, because
I was gonna say it was Froggen.
No,
He had that contract clause.
But I just genuinely think that, one, people think there's a lot of good going on in Academy, and there is some, but a lot of the people in Academy have been ex-LCS players previous years. And teams have...
That needs to change.
Well, it isn't changing because, one, anybody who is... Like, they have asked for people, and they've had scouting grounds, and they've tried bringing in people that are new and new blood in NA, but we don't have a player base that's growing. We're not getting very many young new players. So, at the end of the day, there isn't, like, you're seeing one or two come in, but a lot of them are either one, denying it, or two, there isn't any, like, resurgence of blood. The same people who have been top 100 challenger this year, I guarantee you 75 to 90 of them have been top 100 challengers the past 5 years.
Damn, I wish I could be challenger. I'm fucking Iron 1.
Like, besides the people that get imported and probably take some of the slots, NA doesn't have this big turnover of new talent and new people to go through. It's why the top streamers for League are all the same people they were 5-10 years ago.
I could be the next. I'm a cutie pie. A bunch of like streamers who want to be like rich. The girls probably think, yeah, why could I be in the LCS? I could be Pokimane.
Like, yeah, that's true. Like a person that has shown, so like I don't know if they succeed ever, but like has shown that they have a good understanding of the game and have gotten up in multiple different roles to challenger that could accept a spot to try out would be Tyler 1.
Mo, right? Mo.
Well, Mo has tried out before. He hasn't been able to succeed.
Yeah, Mo tried it.
I think Tyler 1 could make it.
Rat IRL.
I think
Rat's
I think
cool.
a lot
like
of-
Rat.
I think a lot of it also just comes down to that it's definitely a cultural thing to where most of the top players that we have in solo queue right now, they don't know how to communicate within a team setting. They don't know how to just be respectable humans.
They lack social skills.
But, I mean, and it's like there's multiple different things about that you could. I don't know if it's social skills. It's just like there's been multiple players who like have actual talent. Like you can look at like the Dardox of LCS, right? And like he's been given multiple times, and he's obviously very talented, but he just never worked on a team or been able to make it work for him because of like his interpersonal problems. People will look to Tarzan as another one of those like people that he's not making it work for him because every time that he gets on a team, he has to like tell someone to go off themselves or something. It's unfortunate, but I think like the 100 Thieves next thing where they found people like Kenvi and they found Plume, obviously.
Tenacity.
Yeah, TSM had their little thing too.
Yeah, I mean, like, Sword is finally at the age where he could probably do it. There's even TSM Sarcasm and stuff like that. But that's probably the best way to go about doing it. But I'm not extremely hopeful until there is more of a change infrastructurally at North America, because regardless of if we like have more people, I just don't think that they find it like good to view.
Well, just go ask the 14, 15, 16-year-olds in North America what games they're going to play. And would they even consider trying? And if they're good at video games, would they even try or be good at League of Legends?
I like Fortnite.
It's going to be 9 out of 10. Nobody's going to have interest in League.
Valorant.
It's true.
We could all become Valorant streamers.
Okay, don't shit on Valorant. I'm a CS guy. Valorant looks actually not bad.
We could all be Among Us streamers.
Hey, I already do that, man.
Among Us is fun.
I think that like Panzer Dragon has tried, like he actually tries to make an effort to make it to Scouting Grounds, and he said that like he's not sure if he would end up wanting to play in the LCS, but he said like he'd consider it. But like he's one of like the few streamers who's actually said like I want to make it to Scouting Grounds. I want to be #1. And I know for like the past few years, like there have been like the reasons why he couldn't go have always been circumstantial. And so it's just interesting to see that like he's the only one out of all these players to like actually show interest.
He hit rank 1 too.
Yeah.
Well, that pretty much wraps it all up. Unless you guys got any more hot takes, because I'm starving and I gotta have this episode up before Worlds comes out. And my girlfriend is calling me. No, she's not calling me. She said, "Leave me alone for today. I'm busy with college."
Yeah, I mean, I could go on and talk about NAA all day long. I don't know if people want to do that after this ends, but like,
I'll have some fun with it.
All
I
right.
like that.
See you guys later. Like, comment, subscribe. Most of all, enjoy. I'm the Nightwing. This is Flair, Colin, Shenryu, and the new guy popped up. Omniscient, right? Did I say that right? Freaking
yeah, he's awesome, man.
Yeah,
Everybody's awesome.
Yeah.
Everybody's
New guy.
Yeah, guys, so if you ever want to be on the show, join the League podcast group in the link in the description box below. And please remember the times, because having to constantly tell new people when the show is, when stuff is happening is crazy, even though there's a pinned comment in the group.
I apologize. I do that every time.
He just admits, I forget everything.
I mean, we recorded this guy an hour earlier today, so it always can change. You never know.
It's true. It's true.
Dom wanna win Worlds.
I think G2 will definitely be relegated from EU. People will take that.
Let's bring relegation back and kick Mad Lions out of EU. Thank you. Okay, goodbye.
I think Faker is the most overrated mid lane on this planet. Well, see you guys later. Goodbye.
Faker should have won World.
Bye.
Bye.
Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more stuff.
Yeah, thank you.